Eleanor sat at the edge of her bed, adjusting the compression socks on her legs. The Florida sun filtered softly through the blinds, casting striped shadows across the floor. At 78, she'd grown used to the quiet of the house, the still mornings, the slowness of time. But what she hadn't grown used to were the small, unpleasant changes that had crept into her life like ants under the door, uninvited, persistent, and often invisible to everyone else. It started with the noises. She cleared her throat constantly, a wet rattle that even she found irritating. Her joints cracked when she stood, a full orchestra of knees, hips, and ankles sounding off in sequence. She used to laugh about it with her bridge club, but over time, she noticed they all did it too. Grunts to rise from chairs, sighs after every movement, groans when bending down. Sounds of age no one had warned her about. Then came the forgetfulness. Not the kind that lost you in a grocery store or made you call your grandson by your son's name. No, it was smaller than that. Putting the milk in the cupboard, leaving the stove on, forgetting the word for toaster and saying bread heater instead. Her pride took little stings every day. And though she laughed it off, there was always that thin veil of fear. What if it gets worse? She found herself repeating stories. It hit her one afternoon, mid-sentence, when her daughter's smile froze into polite endurance. Eleanor's heart sank. "I've told you this before, haven't I?" Her daughter nodded, gently. Eleanor made a joke, changed the subject. But she knew. And now, each time she began a story, she hesitated. Had she said this already? Was this new? It made her quieter, less confident. Another unspoken thing, the sudden, unreasonable irritability. She was startled by how angry she got over the smallest things. A slow cashier, a barking dog. Her neighbor's music that wasn't even that loud. She used to be easygoing, but now every annoyance felt magnified, like the world was constantly poking her with little sticks, daring her to snap. There was the smell, too. Her house smelled different. She tried candles, sprays, airing out the rooms, but it lingered. A musty, stale scent that clung to fabrics and corners. When her granddaughter visited, Eleanor caught a quick wrinkling of the nose. That stung more than she'd expected. And of course, the bathroom troubles. No one ever talks about how often you start planning your day around proximity to a toilet. The urgency came suddenly, sometimes cruelly. She kept a spare set of clothes in her car just in case. It embarrassed her, the way she couldn't trust her own body anymore. Food changed. Things she used to love, spicy enchiladas, red wine, garlic, now gave her acid reflux or left a bitter taste. Her appetite was smaller, but her weight crept up anyway. She blamed her metabolism, her sedentary afternoons, and secretly the medications. Speaking of which, medications. Pills were now a central part of her morning routine. She had a pill organizer the size of a lunchbox. Each new prescription added a layer of worry. What is this one for? What does it interact with? Why does it make me dizzy? No one tells you how medical management becomes a part-time job. Sleep betrayed her. She got tired earlier but woke up at odd hours. Midnight, 3 a.m. Then came the tossing, the staring at the ceiling, the creeping dread. The nights were longer now. Lonelier. No one warned her about that either. How nighttime can become a battlefield when your body aches and your mind won't stop reliving things you can't change. Her skin bruised at the lightest touch. She had purple spots on her forearms from brushing against the car door or bumping a countertop. The texture of her skin had changed too. Thinner, dry, paper-like. Sometimes she avoided looking in the mirror too long. She still wore lipstick, still styled her hair, but something about her reflection seemed faded. Social circles shrank. Friends moved away. Some passed on. Others stayed home more. Invitations slowed. Loneliness wasn't always loud. It was often subtle. Realizing no one had called in 3 days, seeing an empty calendar, watching TV shows just for the sound of conversation. And finally, the most unexpected thing, the guilt. Guilt for aging, for being slower, for needing help, for asking the same question twice, for not being able to keep up, for declining an invitation, for holding up the line, for still being here when others weren't. No one tells you about that. Eleanor sighed and stood, her bones clicking in protest. She shuffled to the kitchen to make her tea, each step measured, deliberate. She wasn't ashamed of growing older. She'd lived a full life, had stories that could fill volumes, but she wished someone had told her, not to scare her, but to prepare her. So she wouldn't feel so alone when these small, unpleasant things began showing up like unwanted guests. As the kettle steamed, she looked out the window at the street below. A young mother walked by, stroller in tow, earbuds in, moving quickly. Eleanor remembered being that age, rushing, multitasking, full of plans. Now, everything was slower and in some ways more painful, but also somehow more tender. She poured her tea and wrapped both hands around the warm mug. Maybe this stage of life came with its share of unpleasant surprises, but it also came with resilience, with the quiet strength of continuing on, of adapting, of learning to sit with discomfort and not let it define you. Eleanor smiled faintly, sipped her tea, and whispered to herself, "You're still here,